Hi guys, Eevee Guy here. Welcome to my third playthrough with my Eevee squad. Today I will take them into the Owen region, and I will be playing Pokemon Ruby. So don't forget to put a like on that video and subscribe to my channel, Eevee will appreciate it. And let's go! So I start the same thing I did in the other two games, get Eevee eggs in another game and then trade them to the actual game, that I will be playing of course. I named them the usual names, Ben, Bubbles, Sparky, Fireball, ESP and Dark One. So we start in Little Root Town. And my first mission is to save the professor from a Poochyena. What a disgrace. I chose Mudkip as my starter, defeat the Poochyena, and the professor told us to give him a nickname. So I call it not Eevee. Obviously. Next we go to find May, our rival, and she wants a battle. Of course she does. She sends Trico and of course I go with not Eevee. A few tackles was enough to put the Trico down. Then we just have to go to Oldale Town to get our Eevee squad. I decided to get the evolution stones that I needed from the other game as well, so I can speed things up and to get some advantage as well. Why not? Well, I give the Everstone to Ben because I don't want it to evolve. As soon as I get to Petalburg City, I decide to evolve Bubbles, Sparky and Fireball right away. Then in Petalburg Woods, we got to protect this guy from this magma ground, which sends a Poochyena, and I go with Bubbles, but I defeat it with a few tackles as well, not a big deal. After I reach Rustboro City, I decide to grow some levels, and after I did, I decide to face Roxanne. She's a rock type gym leader, but with Bubbles already evolved, it's not a problem. I decide to send it against Geodude, which goes down with a single water gun. Next she sends Nosepass, which goes to the yellow with water gun. Then it uses Arden. Then Roxanne heal it with a potion, but then Bubbles defeats the Nosepass with a crit. Good boy, Bubbles. We got our first gym badge. Then we have to retrieve the goods from another magma ground, which was a little difficult using my Dark One in level 7, but it manages to win. Then on Dewford Town, we go to face Brawly, the fighting type gym leader. And like always, I'm having the same problem. My Eevee squad are starting to disobey me. But still we go for it, and Brawly sends Matchup while I send Bubbles. I go with Water Gun, but Bubbles don't listen while Matchup lowers my defense. Fortunately, in the next turn, Bubbles uses Water Gun, doing a little damage, and Matchup goes for Bulk Up. Not good. On the next turn, Bubbles ignores me again, while Matchup hits a Karate Chop. Bubbles hits Matchup with a Water Gun, but Matchup survives on the red by a little, while it goes for Seismic Toss. Brawly uses a Super Potion, while Bubbles still don't listen. When it finally hits a Water Gun, it's too late for Bubbles, and Bubbles goes down. I decided to send Fireball, but goes down with a single Karate Chop. My Eevee squad is so below level that I'm sure I can't win this. Yes, I just grew levels on Bubbles. So yeah, I was expecting to win only with Bubbles, not the rest of the team yet. I send Sparky, but it misses the first attack and then ignores me in the next, and Sparky goes down. Really? Unfortunately this was over, so all my team go down. Time for the second round. But I lost as well, because I was feeling lazy to grind levels on the rest of my team. But of course I decided to grew some levels because otherwise I would stay here forever. I only grew Bubbles to level 20 and then I decided to face Brawly. Even in level 20 it was hard with Bubbles disobeying, but I finally defeat Matchup and Makohita with Water Gun, getting the second badge. Finally! We can skip to the rival fight, so May starts with Wilmer and I go with Sparky, of course. 2 Thunder Shocks is enough to put Wilmer down. So next is Numel, and I change for Bubbles. And 1 Water Gun is enough for Numel, so next is Grovyle, and I go with Fireball. Grovyle goes with Quick Attack, and I go for Ember, which doesn't even make half, which is understandable since my Fireball is 4 levels below Grovyle. Another Ember leaves it on the red, so despite of all those quick attacks, my Fireball hangs on and finishes off Grovyle with another Ember, winning us the fight. Next is the fight with Wally, but come on, that Waltz was the easy KO. So it's time to face Watson, the electric type gym leader. It starts with Magnemite and I go with Fireball. Ember makes a good damage on it, but Magnemite goes for Thunder Wave, paralyzing Fireball. Fortunately we make through paralysis and with another Ember, Magnemite goes down. Next is Voltorb and I send Ben. I use Quick Attack, which makes a decent damage, and Voltorb goes for Spark, which we can take all day. Another Quick Attack leaves Voltorb in the red. But of course Watson heals with the Super Potion. That means we can attack twice in a row. But Watson heals again. We attack again, twice in a row. Unfortunately, the next Spark of Voltorb paralyzes, but thankfully Ben gets through paralysis and finishes off Voltorb. Next is Magneton, so I change for Fireball, which is also paralyzed. Magneton misses a Supersonic, but we get paralyzed in this turn, which gives the chance for the next turn for Magneton to use Supersonic again and confuse Fireball, and we hit ourselves in Confuse. Magneton misses a Sonic Boom, and fortunately we get through both Confuse and Paralysis and hit with an Ember, which leaves Magneton in half. Magneton hit us with a Shockwave and we snap out of Confusing, but we get paralyzed again. That's not good. I decide to risk it, but of course Fireball goes down with another Shockwave. I was deciding for which one I should send next, so I go for Ben. But of course I forgot the Steel type of Magneton as well, so Quick Attack doesn't do that much. And Ben goes down with a Shockwave. I decide to go with Bubbles. It's dangerous, I know, but Bubbles is faster, so a Water Gun leaves Magneton in the red. And the only thing Magneton does is use Thunder Wave to paralyze Bubbles. So Magneton misses a Sonic Boom, we just have to hope to hit, but of course we get paralyzed and we can't move, obviously. But fortunately Magneton uses again Sonic Boom, and Bubble gets through paralysis and hits a Wonder Gun, finishing Magneton for good, winning us the third batch. Finally! Next is Flannery, the Fire-type gym leader. She goes with Slugma, so Bubbles is my choice, but look at this. Bubbles is starting to ignore me again. Slugma uses Smog, and fortunately it doesn't poison. I try again, and Bubbles just stays there doing nothing. Finally, in the third turn, Bubbles uses Water Gun, which finishes Slugma in one shot. She sends her second Slugma. I try my luck, and fortunately Bubbles obeys me and goes for Water Gun. And another Slugma goes down in one shot. Next is Torkoal. I use Water Gun and makes only half, and Torkoal uses Attract, which is a pain. It's hard enough to deal with the obedience problem, and Attract to make Bubbles immobilize. This is so bad. I try to use Water Gun again, but Bubbles decide to go with Quick Attack. Torkoal uses Body Slam, which paralyzes Bubbles. That's just awesome! Really? Obedience problem, immobilized by Retract, and get paralyzed by Body Slam. I don't know if this can get any worse. Fortunately, after Torkoal used another Body Slam, Bubbles gets through all of that and hits a Water Gun, finishing off Torkoal and winning us the fourth batch. Phew, that was close. Fortunately, I have been such a good trainer that Dark One is starting to love me enough to evolve. And so it's time to face Norman. I mean, my dad, the normal type gym leader. He starts with Slacking and I go with Bubbles, which as you can see, it's with low health. Yeah, I forgot to heal. Either way, I attack with a Water Gun and Slacky goes for a Yawn. I decide to change for Fireball. Slacking goes with Facade, making a big damage. I was just hoping that Ember could at least burn it, but no. So I go for Bite in his loafing turn, but then next Fireball goes down with another Facade. I decide to send Dark One. I go for Quick Attack in his loafing turn, and then after a Facade I go for Bite on the next, which makes a crit and Slacky goes down. But then it comes the second Slacking. Fortunately it just goes for Focus Energy all the time, which gives me the chance to attack every time with Bite, even when Norman uses 2 Hyper Potions. Slacking eventually goes down. So next is Vigoroth, so I change for Bubbles. I just want to make some damage with water gun first before Bubbles goes down with the facade. Next I send Dark One. It can hit the bite leaving on the red, so the next turn Vigoroth goes down with a quick attack, winning us the 5th badge. And ESP finally loves me enough as well to evolve, so it's good to have a Dark type and a Psychic type on the team, finally. Next, May comes to challenge us for a battle. She starts things up with Numel, and I go with Sparky. Not by choice, I just forgot about this battle. So I change for Bubbles to take a magnitude 8, and since it's raining, a single surf is enough for Numel. Next is Grovyle, so I change for Fireball. I know in this rain my Ember will not make enough damage, but still for me it's good enough. But of course May decided to change for Wildman. Good choice, May. Sparky, it's your turn. Take that Water Pulse. A Shockwave leaves Wildman on the red. Are you kidding? No problem, a single quick attack puts it down. So Grovyle comes out again and I go with Fireball, which tanks a Leaf Blade. Grovyle is faster, so it attacks again with Leaf Blade, while I go with Ember. Grovyle then uses Screech to lower Fireball's defense, and another Ember leaves him in the red. But he gets the burn, so Grovyle goes down with the burn, winning us the fight. Now it's time to face Winona, the Flying-type Gym Leader. She starts with Swallow and I go with Sparky. A single Shockwave is enough to put Swallow down. Next is Altaria. A Shockwave only makes just a small damage, and Altaria goes for Dragon Dance. Not good. I go for another Shockwave, waiting for a crit, but we don't get it, and Altaria goes for another Dragon Dance. I decided to go for Shockwave again, but thanks to those Dragon Dances, Altaria is faster now and lands a Earthquake, and Sparky goes down in one shot. I send Bubbles, which can resist Earthquake, and we land a Surf, making just a little damage. Of course Winona uses an Hyper Potion on Altaria, healing back to full. I land the Surf for free, but Altaria starts to go with more Dragon Dances, raising even more Altaria's attack and speed. We still can take the next Earthquake, and we survive with only 19 HP. But of course our Surf doesn't do that much. Then Altaria finishes off Bubbles with an Aerial Ace. I decide to send ESP, while Altaria goes for another Dragon Dance. I attack with Bite. Then Altaria goes for Earthquake, and ESP survives on 1 HP, and then a Bite leaves Altaria in the red. So I go for Quick Attack, and Altaria is finally put down. Damn, that thing was starting to get scary. Next is Pelipper, so I go with Ben. I use Bite, while Pelipper goes for Water Gun. In the next turn, Pelipper protects, and then the next turn, it double protects. I decide to attack Pelipper until half before I let Ben go down. So I send Dark One, and I attack with Bite, leaving Pelipper on the red. And Pelipper uses Supersonic, but it misses. The next turn, Winona heals Pelipper, so let's start again. At least I can land a Bite for free. The second Bite lives closer to finish Pelipper. Pelipper just retaliates with Water Gun, which doesn't make too much damage. Another Bite leaves it on the red, and we get the flinch. So we can attack with Quick Attack, and Pelipper goes down. The last Pokemon is Skarmory, so I change for Fireball. I go for Ember, which leaves Skarmory on half, while Skarmory goes for Sand Attack. So of course in the next turn we miss the Ember, while Skarmory hits Fireball with Aerial Ace. Fortunately in the next we hit Skarmory, and Skarmory goes down, winning us the 6th badge. That took a lot of time. In Lily Cove we get our last battle against May. She starts with Swallow, and I go with Bubbles. She goes with Double Team, and I use Aurora Beam, which leaves it in the red. The next turn Swallow goes for Endeavor, which leaves Bubbles with only 3 HP before going down with another Aurora Beam. Next is Grovyle, and I decide to stay with Bubbles because I thought I could be faster, but no, Grovyle puts him down with Leaf Blade. Okay, I send Fireball, which can resist the Leaf Blade, and an Ember leaves Grovyle in half. Grovyle still attacks with Leaf Blade before going down with another Ember. Next is Numel, so I change for Dark One. I go for Bite, and I get the flinch, which means the next Bite is for free, which leaves Numel on the red. Numel only goes for Focus Energy, so another Bite puts him down, even without the crit. Next is Wilmer, so I change for Sparky. and a single shockwave is enough to win the fight. The magma hideout was so easy that I will skip it. So it's time to face Tate and Liza, the psychic type gym leaders. Duo. Yeah, it's a double battle. While they go with Lunatone and Soul Rock, I go with Dark One and Bubbles. Dark One uses Helping Hand while Bubbles uses Surf, making a huge damage on Lunatone while Soul Rock goes down right away. Then Lunatone uses Hypnosis on Bubbles, putting him to sleep. So since Bubbles is asleep, Dark One uses Faint Attack on Lunatone, which goes down, winning us an easy 7th badge. Next was the fight against Maxi, but come on, how can he be the leader of an evil team if he loses so easily? And he gets so angry that he wakes up Groudon, so now it's up to me to fix this mess. Me! Really? I send Bubbles to take care of Groudon and he leaves Groudon on the red before going down, then Dark One finishes it off with Faint Attack. Okay, problem solved. Let's go face the last gym. The next gym is Wallace, the water type gym leader. It starts with Love Disc and my choice is Sparky. A single shockwave is enough to put it down. So next is Whiscash, and since he's also a ground type, I change for Bubbles. I use Aurora Beam while Whiscash goes for Earthquake. The next turn I go for another Aurora Beam, and this time Whiscash uses Amnesia, raising his special defense, which means the next Aurora Beam doesn't do enough damage. The next attack it lands is another Earthquake. The next turn I decide to go for Surf, which finishes off Whiscash. Since next is Celio, I bring back Sparky, and Celio goes down with a single Shockwave. Next is Seeking, I use Shockwave, but it survives on what it looks like a 1 HP, and uses Raid Dance, which is not good. Wallace heals with another Hyper Potion on the next turn, and then Seeking survives again on the red, allowing Wallace to use another Hyper Potion. I go for Shockwave again, and of course Seeking survives again. But since I know Wallace already used his 2 potions, I don't need to worry, so I use a quick attack to finish Seeking. Next is Milotic, I use Shockwave and we get the crit, but still not enough, which gives the chance for Milotic to use Water Pulse, and we get confused, try to go for a quick attack, but we hit ourselves in confusing. Then Milotic uses Recover, healing more than half. I try to go for Shockwave, but we hit in confusing again, while Milotic goes for another Water Pulse. I try another Shockwave, and we hit ourselves in confuse again. Damn, this Milotic is being a pain already, really. Even more because it uses Recover again to get back to full health. I try again, and of course Sparky goes down because it hits himself in confusing. Again! Really? Really? Why does this happen to me? It's the second time already. Made me remember that fight I had with that annoying Gengar. With little options I bring Dark One. Milotic is faster, so it uses Ice Beam, and Dark One gets frozen. Are you kidding right now? I decide to use a full heal because I was losing my patience, while Milotic uses again Ice Beam, but fortunately Dark One don't get freeze again. Still, I know I can't make that much damage to Milotic with a Dark type, I just want to make some damage. After some damage with Quick Attack, Dark One finally goes down. To be fair, this time I was already desperate, so I was not choosing well my team. I sent Ben without thinking, which Ben goes down easily. I sent Fireball next. Yes, bad choice, but I still managed to make some damage on Milotic. Next I sent ESP. The problem is that the rest of my team is low level. After I made a quick attack, Milotic uses again Recover to get back to full before ESP go down. My last Pokemon is Bubbles, while Milotic recovers again. I use Surf, I continue to use Surf, but Milotic uses again Recover. Really, this Milotic is being a pain, which was really starting to piss me off. I continue to attack, I didn't have any choice, and when I reach half, Milotic uses Recover again and again until I finally lost this battle. Really, if it wasn't for all the confusing with Sparky, I would have won. It's time for a second round with Wallace. So like the last time, Love Disc is first, but it goes down with a single Thunder Shock. Next is Wish Cash, and I change for Bubbles. I use Surf on it for a huge damage, while Wish Cash only uses Rain Dance. Another Surf and Wish Cash goes down. Next is Celio, so I send Sparky, a single Shockwave puts Celio down. And Sparky learns Thunder. This can come to handy. Next is Seeking, so I use another Shockwave, which of course is not enough, and Seeking survives on the red. Seeking only uses Water Pulse. Surviving on the red means Wallace will waste his potion. So after those healings, Seeking finally goes down. Next is Milotic, and this time I decided to change for Ben. I just decided to go for some damage before I use Sparky on it. Ben goes down as Fireball and ESP, but now that Milotic is a little low, I send Sparky. And since Sparky is faster, I use Thunder, but of course we miss. Damn Thunder. Having only 70% accuracy, it's like having 50%. Fortunately, in the next turn, Sparky used Thunder, and Milotic finally goes down, winning the 8th and final badge. Finally! Time to go to the Pokemon League. But before that, we need to defeat Wally. He grew a little stronger now. He starts with Altaria, and I go with Sparky. I connect with a Thunder, but it's not enough, and Altaria survives on the red. Here I was already with low health because of the trainer I faced in the Victory Road before, so I was in a tough spot. Altaria just goes for Dragon Dance, but fortunately I finish Altaria after a few shockwaves. So next is the Delcatty. I go for Double Kick, but Sparky gets hit by its ability Cute Charm, and unfortunately Sparky gets immobilized so it can't attack his lover, and Delcatty goes for Sing, putting Sparky to sleep. Fortunately, Sparky don't stay sleeping for too long, and then it finishes off Delcatty. Next is Magneton, so I send Bubbles, but Magneton goes down with a single Surf. Next is Roselia. I send Sparky, I go for a Double Kick, and Roselia goes for Magical Leaf. But then I remember I have a nice type move on Bubbles, so I change for it. I send Bubbles to survive a Magical Leaf, which it does, so I use Aurora Beam, but Roselia survives on the red. Every single time, damn it! Roselia uses Giga Drain, recovers some damage while damaging me. In the next turn, Wally uses a Super Potion, but Roselia goes down right after. Next is Gardevoir, so I change for ESP, I use Bite, and Gardevoir just goes for Future Sight, but eventually ESP goes down because of the low level. Next, I change for Bubbles, which finishes off Gardevoir with Surf, winning us the fight. So it's time to challenge the Elite Four, and the first one is Sydney. It starts with Mightyena, and I go with Sparky. I use Double Kick, and Mightyena goes for Takedown. But after another Double Kick, and Mightyena stay in the red, after another Takedown. Sydney uses a full restore, and I go with Thunder. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't use it before. Mightyena goes down in one hit, so next is Cacturn, so I change for Fireball. A single flamethrower is enough to put Cacturn down. Next is Sharpedo, so I change back with Sparky, and I try to use Thunder, but of course we miss. Sharpedo goes for Swagger, raising our attack, but putting us confused. Fortunately we get through that, and Sharpedo goes down. Next is Absol, so I change for Bubbles, and 2 Surf is enough to put Absol down. Next is Shiftry, so I change for Fireball, it goes for Fake Out, but the next turn is mine, and Shiftry goes down with a single flamethrower, winning us the fight. So next is Phoebe. She starts with Dusclops, and I go with Dark One. I use Feint Attack, and Dusclops goes down in one hit. Next is Banette. I go for another Feint Attack, and Banette goes for Will-O-Wisp, but it misses. So I can go for another Feint Attack, which crits, but I don't know if that would matter. Next is Sableye, so I change for Bubbles. I use Surf, but it's not enough to put it down, and Sableye goes for Attract. I try another Surf, but Bubbles is in love with Sableye. Bubbles, this is not the time. Sableye goes for a Shadow Ball, but on the next turn, Bubbles finishes off Sableye. Next is the second Banette, so I change back to Dark One. I use Feint Attack, making a huge damage, but Banette uses Toxic, poisoning Dark One. But Dark One's ability Synchronize activates, making Banette poison as well. Unfortunately, Phoebe heals Bennett with a full restore, which means I'm the only one poisoned. I go for another feint attack, which leaves Bennett on the red, forcing Phoebe to heal with another full restore. So the next two feint attacks finishes off Bennett. Next is the second Dustclops. I go for feint attack, making a little damage, but then Dustclops goes for Earthquake, where Dark One survives on 1 HP. I decide to change for Bubbles, which survives an Earthquake. Then I go for Surf, which leaves Dustclops on the red before firing a Shadow Ball. Dustclops' Citrus Berry heals a little bit from its health, and when I go for Surf, Dustclops survives on the red again, which allows it to fire another Shadow Ball, which crits and Bubble goes down. I decide to go for Ban and put down Dustclops with Bite, winning as the fight. So next is Glacian. She sends out Glalie and I go with Fireball, and a single flamethrower is enough for Glalie to go down. Next is Celio, so I change for Sparky. Celio still manages to hit us with Surf, but it goes down with 2 shockwaves. Next is the second Celio, and since I'm with low health, I decide to risk to use Thunder, and it works, and Celio goes down. Next is the second Glalie, so I change back to Fireball, and Fireball makes a crit with Flamethrower, and Glalie goes down. So the last is Wall Rain, and I change back for Sparky. I risk with Thunder, and it works again, and it crits, which means Wall Rain goes down with 1 hit, winning us the fight. So next is Drake. He starts with Shellgun, and I go with Bubbles. I go for Aurora Beam, which leaves Shellgun on the red, and Shellgun goes for Rocktown, which lowers our speed, not good. Our Oranberry heal back a little bit of health from Bubbles, and then I go for Aurora Beam again, but as expected, Drake uses a full restore, which means the Aurora Beam is for free. So another Aurora Beam puts Shellgun down. Next is Altaria, which starts with a Dragon Dance. An Aurora Beam is not enough, and the next turn, Altaria goes for Takedown. I was expecting that Drake would heal again, but he didn't, so the next Aurora Beam puts Altaria down. Next is Flygon. It uses Flies, so on the next turn, Bubble goes down. I send ESP next, and I use Psychic, which makes a lot of damage on Flygon. Then Flygon just uses Sandstorm, which gives me the chance to finish Flygon with another Psychic. Next is the second Flygon. I go for Psychic again, which makes a lot of damage, while Flygon goes for Crunch. ESP still can take that, so in the next turn, ESP finishes off Flygon. Last is Salamence, so I change for Sparky. I go for Thunder, and it works, but Salamence survives on the red. But it gets paralyzed, but Salamence puts Sparky down with Flamethrower. So I send ESP while Salamance's Citrus Berry activates, healing Salamence but taking it out from healing range. So a single Psychic is enough to put Salamence down, winning the fight. It's time for the champion, Steven. It starts with Skarmory, and I go with Fireball. I use Flamethrower, and Skarmory survives on the red. Skarmory uses Toxic, poisoning Fireball, and Steven heals Skarmory with the full restore. But 2 more Flamethrowers is enough for Skarmory to go down. Next is Steven's most dangerous Pokemon, Metagross. I go for Flamethrower, and actually makes a huge damage, but Metagross goes for Earthquake, which finishes off Fireball. Damn it. So I decide to bring Bubbles. Fortunately, the Citrus Berry takes Metagross out of healing range, so Surf is enough to put it down. Next is Aggron, and I go for a single Hydro Pump, which puts Aggron down. Next is Credilli. I go for Aurora Beam, but then Credilli goes for Giga Drain, which heals it and damages Bubbles. I go for Aurora Beam, but then Credilli goes for Giga Drain, which heals it and damages Bubbles. I go for another Aurora Beam, which crits, but Credilli still survives on the red. Then Credilli finishes off Bubbles with Ancient Power. I go for ESP, but Steven uses a full restore on Credilli. The Psychic makes a good damage. The second Psychic leaves Credilli on the red again. Credilli goes for Ancient Power, which leaves ESP on the red. I go for another Psychic, and Steven heals again. The Psychic I fire takes only half. I try again a Psychic, but it survives again on the red, really. An ESP goes down with Sludge Bomb. I go for Ben, next he survives an Ancient Power, and the bite is not enough to put Credility down. I even try with Quick Attack, but still is not enough, and Ben goes down with a Sludge Bomb. So I go for Sparky to finish off Credility. Next is Claydol, so I change for Dark One. A Feint Attack makes a little damage, while Claydol goes for Earthquake. I go for another Feint Attack, and Claydol uses Light Screen. The next Feint Attack crits, which is good. Next is Armaldo, so I change for Sparky. I go for Thunder, and it doesn't even do half. And Armaldo goes for Ancient Power. I go for a second Thunder, which makes more damage, but then Sparky falls with a Slash. I send my last Pokemon, Dark One, but instead of attacking I use a Revive on Bubbles, and Dark One falls, so it's up to Bubbles. As soon I send Bubbles, Light Screen is off, so that means my Surf can take Armaldo down, winning us the fight against Steven and becoming the champion. Phew! Once again, this playthrough was entertaining for me. I like to step down from Nuzlocke sometimes, stepping out from the rules a little bit. I enjoy a lot. Besides, using the Eeveelution is quite fun. So I will make the next Eeveelutions in the Gen 4 games. More later. I hope you had fun watching, just like I did having fun playing it. If you did, don't forget to put a like on that video, subscribe to my channel if you will appreciate, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace!